Good afternoon, everybody. All right, let's do it. It's going to be about the illusion of stagnation and then humanity's next great acceleration. I've given this a lot of thought because I read this article or saw something on, maybe it was a YouTube or something with Peter Thiel, and he was talking about the great stagnation. And the way that I look at it is like this. What if the world hasn't stopped progressing? What if it's just changed dimensions? Now, when I say that dimensions, I'm not speaking, we're going to 5D and stuff like that, okay? It's a different way of looking at everything. So we're told that humanity is stuck. This is what he said. And that the golden age of progress ended somewhere around 1970. And Peter Thiel calls it the great stagnation. And from 1750 to 1970, we lived through an era of relentless acceleration, like steamships, railroads, airplanes, space travel. Each decade was faster, louder, more visible. And the world felt alive. This is how you have to look at it, right? Because, then that was progression, right? So, and then suddenly it all slowed down. Right? But what if we didn't stop evolving? Okay? What if the direction of progress simply shifted inward? And this is very important to understand this. And the age of the acceleration isn't just about matter and physical anymore. It's something bigger. It's the potential of the human mind and heart, thoughts, feelings, emotions. It's called consciousness. And that we've actually come aware of it. And how much we have inside of us to create our reality. We don't need to be told any longer that it's going to be this. We're not working from the installation. We have our own beautiful reality. So Thiel was right about one thing. That period, the period between the Industrial Revolution and the Apollo missions was the most visible transformation in human history. And every invention reshaped reality. You could see the progress. Because, see, a lot of people need to see and feel it, right? That's how we've been conditioned, on an outer basis of what we see and what we feel. Like steel was replaced with wood, right? Engines replaced horses. Airplanes replaced oceans, okay? And then by 1969, we were walking on the moon. And that was humanity's greatest visible triumph. This is, how we look at it. But then the outer expansion plateaued. Planes stopped getting faster, buildings taller, cities larger, and the great momentum of matter began to fade. And I believe it needs to because this life isn't just about physical. It isn't. I think physical is we're stuck, right? And matter, if that's what you want to call it, because, you know, matter is physical, right? Well, they say, that's another whole story. I don't want to sidetrack this because I really want to stick to what, I have a problem doing that. I noticed. I was watching my other videos, the last 3 videos, and I know I get off on a tangent and then I don't stick to my, you know, what I've written out. So I'm not going to do that with this. But so it looked from the outside like civilization had stalled. This is kind of the scope of what people are looking at. Like, we got our iPhones and all that. That's another whole story. So let's talk about the age of bits. Okay? And the truth, something radical was happening beneath the surface. And this is how I'm looking at it. And we entered a world of bits, the invisible world of code, information, and consciousness. This is really what we're entering now. Because we have to. Because we're the generation that leaps. We were chosen for that. All of us that are living right now, we are the generation of leap. We're going to leap to the next potential. And this is what my book's about. So, from microchips to the internet, from the mobile to the artificial intelligence, progress continued. But now it was happening within us and is happening within us. I see the awakening with everybody. I do. I see almost everyone is questioning. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Hold on a second. We're kind of, what I see is we're breaking out of that installation. Remember I said yesterday about the firmament. I really believe this, and it sounds crazy because there's a, you know, people look at the firmament, you know, like we have something over, like Von Braun. He has it on his tombstone. But I think what he was saying was the installation, which we all have this construct of information that it's been given to us on a silver platter and saying, now eat it, because this is what we're telling you who you are and what you're going to do, and this is how the world runs, and so on and so forth. And we now see that we're not going along with that. We're thinking on our own because we know what's best for us. Like, we don't even need Washington anymore. We really don't. What, the government's been closed down for how many, I don't know, a month or whatever? And we don't need a whole government. The amount of people that are in the government now is really, and I'm not, you know, like hurting anybody when I say this, but it's not working. It's not. The fall of humanity to me is the dogma of politics and religion. And all of the, how can I say this? Like the fights that have been happening among humanity, you know, we're always, it's about politics or it's about religion and who has the better religion and who's, you know, who's right on the left or right or Dems or whatever you want to say, you know, that however it works. And this has been our problem. among other things, you know, military, the military complex. I mean, it's like all these people are choosing for us when the government essentially was built for them to serve us, but it's turned. They are the rulers and we have to do what they say. Isn't it weird? When you start to really look at this, if you think about it, you're like, oh my God, like how did this, like, it was an inversion, you guys. And this is what I said about when I read the Q drops, not to bring that up, but I'm going to, when I read it, I inverted everything. And I saw things that I was like, good God, no one's talking about it like that. Everybody's kind of taking it, you know, yeah, everybody, oh, it's code, you know. But I don't even want to get into that. But it was really strange the way when I went back over it, I saw a lot of things differently. So the way I saw the government was the inversion that we no longer really have the voice. It's the shadows that are, you know, behind the curtain, let's call it. And they tell the capital and the president, you're going to do this or else. It's kind of like a hostage type of a situation, the way I look at it. And everybody's scared, you know. I mean, you look at like the House and the Capitol, and no one has a backbone. I mean, all they care about is getting the slice of the pie. And the slice of the pie is what we have to look at. That I'm not getting a slice of the pie, but it's kind of, look at it like this. The slice of the pie is what they give the influencers and the Capitol or House and the, you know, maybe even the president and the families and everything else. And once they get that slice of pie, which is the love of money, the love of power, they just fold and do whatever they tell them to do. And I see it that way. That's the way I see it. And the slice of the pie, we're not going to have a pie anymore because we're not going to allow that anymore. That's going away. You're not getting that. You can't crook out in the streets anymore and do shenanigans. So getting back to the progress of now what's going to be happening, because we're not going to have any pie anymore. We're going to go within and we're going to raise our potential as human beings the way it was always meant to be. That's what freedom is. And that's what it means. Not being told on the news, this is happening and this is what's going to happen. I mean, it's out of control. And I mean, Peter Thiel was saying that the one exception is the digital revolution. And he's betting on that, but maybe it isn't the exception. This is how I'm looking at it, because once again, the digital is another control tactic that they're going to try to revert us into. See, it's always this way with these people. They have to control, because if they can't control, they can't control the reality. The thing is, and this is nothing, I'm not trying to degrade anybody. I'm trying to put this in a positive way. and this is when I'm slowly writing my book, because I'm really thinking about everything, and then I'll go back and read it, and then I have to change things because I've elevated myself, and I'm like, no, that's not how it is. And I look at it like this, okay, is that we create our reality, but we've become this species where we're dependent on the government to tell us who we are and what we're allowed to do and what we can do and what we can't do. And narrative has been shoved down our throats on what we can do in terms of our lifestyle. Now, a lot of people understand this, and they know what the installation is they don't listen to it. And so they prosper and grow because they understand that I create my reality. The government doesn't create my reality. That's why when Obama once said, he said, you don't own that company. The government owns that company. He was saying it not because he was trying to say we own it. He was saying it as though that is a construct. Do you not understand that? That's part of the installation. This is what government and these billionaires, or whatever you want to call them, I don't know anymore what to call them, because to me they're just they're the ones shoving the narrative out, and we're just taking it. People are taking it in and thinking that they're right because who they are. So but it's now time that the one exception, like Thiel's trying to say, is now the digital revolution, and that's not going to happen. That's not the exception. And maybe it's the next phase of the evolution itself, is that the actual exception, and that nobody is really betting on, is us. We're the exception. I don't want to cry because I thought about this like really deep. We are the ones that make everything change, because we stand up and we say, N-O, no. We're the exception, you guys. It's us. We make the leap forward. And because what is code really? I want everybody to think about that. Everybody's talking about the code. And code is an invisible structure. It's a pattern that organizes energy into meaning. That's what it is. We are important. Humanity is important. And we can't allow to be fed narrative anymore. You have to grow up, realize who you are, be fully responsible, know who you are, great self-image. There's nothing wrong with you unless you're trying to hurt people and you're doing corruption and you're not being honest and you're not being truthful and, you're taking a piece of the pie. Meaning, when I say the piece of the pie, like influencers, for example. I don't mean to be mean, but you took from the demon. I'm sorry. And now what? They want to kill you? But why did you do that? Why would you take a piece of the pie? And going to Charlie Kirk and I'm not saying this to be mean, but he was a little bit naive at the beginning because he was ambitious. He wanted to get going on. He had a great idea to go straight to the college campuses, which is, no one else ever did that. Who's done that? Charlie Kirk, that's it. There isn't anybody, and there'll never be another person because we're advancing. But the thing is this, is he was ambitious. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious, but he took money from the piece of the pie who dictate exactly what you can and cannot do. And this is what's happening to the influencers, and they don't want to maybe take responsibility for that. You know, once you get into this group and you sit at their table and they say, okay, you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z, and you'll get a piece of the pie. And this is the fall of you. Do you not get that? You can't do that. You can, but then there's a consequence to pay. You owe them then. Why would you do that? All over money, the love of money. You have maybe a family or whatever. Why would you put yourself in that scenario where now you owe your life? So I want to go back to the very last sentence, and the last portion is that code it's an invisible structure. And I'm going to get, all my videos now are going to be about shaping where we're going, humanity. And it's already started, and they can't stop it because they're not stronger than the field, the universe, and the cosmos. So don't lose hope, friends. Don't. Be proud. Stand up. You're beautiful just the way you are. Be aware and know who you are. And be kind. Let's be kind to one another. Okay? So it's a pattern that organizes energy into meaning. In that sense, it's the same principle that organizes reality. And we are the ones to do this, to reorganize, okay, reality, what we want. Not Washington, D.C., the president or the military or anybody. Us, we have the most power. Do you not see this? It's so clear to me. Our heart is strong and we're kind people. We are. So instead of mastering matter, what Peter Thiel is trying to do, we begin mastering ourselves and our own information within. Instead of building rockets that go nowhere, we start building our divinity with realities of kindness, love, truth, and honesty. This is the leap generation. This is us, you guys. This is us. We're the ones. We're the chosen ones. And this is what makes me so happy, is that when people say, what a time to be alive, you have to feel that. And we have God on our side. We have the intelligent source that is in us. Like Jesus Christ said, whatever I can do, you can do too, and even greater. See, this is why you can't think low of yourself. Your self-image is the most, you have to have a strong, if you've even been beaten down, I know families, they can be rough and stuff, and even people, trust me. I mean, good Lord. You know, people that, the women, I think, have gotten, they're not warm and fuzzy anymore like they used to be. You know, like something happened maybe, and, you know, they've gotten a little bit tough, which is kind of sad. And, but you can change that, right? You don't have to be like that. You're just maybe, you know, angst, but you can let that go. Okay? So Thiel makes another point that now only a small priesthood truly understands what's happening. And that quantum physics, AI researchers, and geneticists, they live in the dimensions most people can't see because they're, you know, down, they have their head down and they're going to work. And what happens is they live in a dimension most people just don't see that. But we've become so hyper specialized that you know, some of them have really, that that humanity as a whole lost its ability to see the whole picture. And that's what's happened, because look at it like this, okay? You're on social media. Maybe you have a TV. I got rid of my TV in 1999, and I haven't had a TV since, but I still am on the net. So I'm still, essentially, I'm connected. So when I say I don't have a TV, that means nothing, because the TV is the computer, right? So when you're always on getting information from the computer, YouTube to TikTok to Instagram, basically you're getting flooded all day if you're on it a lot. And TV, if you do have a TV, you're taking in the information. And so then, remember when I talked about the hemisphere, the right and the left? You don't know this, but when you are taking in whatever information you're taking in, it goes to one side or the other. And if you're feeding one side too much and not the other, then you're off balance. And that's what I mean when I say humanity as a whole lost its ability to see the whole picture. And that's why I always stress to get your hemisphere, right, left brain in balance. Without that, you're dust. You just can't make decisions. So, and that gets dangerous because when progress hides behind complexity, the rest of us begin to feel stuck. We lose faith in the future. And this is what's happened with the conspiracy theories. All those floating around where it sounds like, yes, that's it. But then there's no evidence. And I want to say something. Everybody's saying we got to get back to truth. We got to get back to truth. What does that mean? We have to get back to truth. What type of truth? Because we don't really have truth unless we have evidence, right? That's how I look at it. I'm looking at like evidence. Like I have for the last 3 years since, you know, I got a separation from my husband, and then we finally got a divorce. And I kind of dived into Jesus Christ. I mean, I've always been a Roman Catholic, but I mean, I kind of stopped going to church like in 2008, 17 or 18 because of something. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I mean, I've always dived into all kinds of religions because I don't need to listen to so-and-so tell me what Kabbalah is or, this other religion over here. I want to know for myself because I need to read it. I need to study it so I can decide for me what it means. And so I dove into Jesus Christ and I dove into his existence. And 2 years ago, I did a video on it and the existence of God and what it means. And I'm going to actually redo that video because I think it's very important. And I really did like a lot of research off the web. And because on the web, it seems to have become scrambled, is the way I like to look at it. And it's not really, it's kind of like the Bible was scrambled as well. It's kind of like everything leads back to Rome because that was scrambled too. And so I went into documents. And that was a whole different thing. And I also listened to this girl from Spain. And so it got me thinking, and it changed me. It changed my whole perspective about like pretty much everything in my life. So, but let's get back. So we lose the faith in the future. But that bottleneck won't last forever because AI, ironically, may dissolve the very priesthood that built it. We're entering an age where really knowledge is no longer gated. This is why I brought up the Jesus Christ, because I got into that. I entered something that who Jesus Christ really is, and I did I wrote it all up. I'm going to do a video on it, and it's beautiful. And so we're entering the knowledge that is no longer going to be gated. And this is where I think the awakening is, where it really kind of replaces the specialization of the gatekeepers, I guess is what you want to call it. I don't know. I just made that up right now, but that's how I feel. And when that happens, the Renaissance returns. And that's what I believe. And I'm very excited in many ways about our full potential. And I think that's when I say we're moving out of the physical, the matter/matter, because physical matter, right? And into the within. This is the beauty. This is when we realize who we are. And the new direction of the progress where we're going, which, like I think Thiel asks, can the digital revolution resurrect the physical? This was one of his questions. And what I would say is that it's not the right question anymore. It's not. The real question is this: can humans rise to their full potential without being fused with microbes or merged with a physical digital bit in our brain or our body? And this is where this is going. This is why they're pushing it. How do we do it? We let the truth come out. everything on who we are. The evidence, and there is the evidence. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And we're destroying the construct, the firmament. It's leaving. The installation is not going to be here anymore. This is where I get excited. We're not going to have these people that are cutting up the pie and splitting it among themselves. You want a piece of pie? Then you're going to have to join our organization and sit at our table and eat it. And if you want more pie, you're going to have to eat more and do what we say. This is how it is. It's that sick. And I believe in the full potential of every human being living right now. The invisible is becoming tangible. And we are realizing that we are not part of just a field. We're not part of the field. We are the field. And this is why it's so beautiful. Because kind of in a way, what's happened is that it's kind of like this. When people talk, in regular life, like when I just said, we're realizing that we're not part of the field, that we are the field, is like this. Well, I didn't go to Ivy League school, therefore I'm not qualified to get a position like that. It's kind of like that. But even if you didn't go to Ivy League school, you can get the position. See, no one ever told you that. I always look at like Ralph Lauren, and I love Ralph and Ricky because I look at their life and he manifested his life, and Ricky is his wife, and the two are incredible partners. I don't know them, but I just can tell by their energy. And we're all, we manifest our life. We're not told what we can and cannot do. And many people operate in that part of life, that field where they think, I can't do that because I came from a poor family. I don't have the pedigree. Most of the pedigree families are rotten. I mean, a lot of them are cheats. And I'm not being mean or anything, but I mean, like half of them don't work. They probably should go out and get a job and learn. So, we are the universe, we are the galaxy, and we are the one consciousness, and we are divinity. And the way that I look at everything is that you have to look at it, I guess, like this. I mean, I'm kind of skipping over because we're already at 39 minutes. Is that when we look now at the now. Okay, example being, wait, let me reword this. Some of us are looking like the last 3 videos I did is There's No Trust in America. If you haven't watched those, watch those 3. And I did watch all 3 of them myself, and I kind of was, I'm very critical, and I know I don't speak well, but I don't really care because you know what? The thing is I have to get better because I've never done this before, but I have a lot of information that, I'm very intelligent, and I do read. And I have a lot of information that is good for humanity. This is why I'm doing it. But I'm learning to speak because it's hard to do this, for me anyways. I've never been an actress or a sports, or not sports, a newscaster or anything like that. So those people, they do it all day, every day, and they're constantly speaking on the, screen. So, but my point is this, is that we have to look now, because the way I look at it is this, and I'm trying to find where I left off. Hold on one second. Okay, so we're accelerating in a different way, not the physical matter, but in the metaphysical, who we are, our potential, and now we take the reins of our own life, because we were programmed a certain way. And a lot of people, now there are a lot of people that understood this and they know to create their life, but most of humanity has been brainwashed in a way to just follow along, is what I mean. Okay, so now we're breaking out of that, and the pace of the visible change, we see the physical part has slowed, but the pace of the invisible evolution, we can see, is now starting to, in a way, explode and become visible, because we're seeing things that, like, wait a minute, that didn't make sense, because we saw what happened and blah blah blah. And we're looking at the galaxy, the universe, and the galaxy data. Like, if you go onto like the NASA and some of these sites, you can see what's happening in the universe, and you can see everything rotating. And in a lot of ways, like, I like to go on, because for some reason I see the consciousness field. And I mean, people would say, oh, you're crazy, that's not the consciousness field. But for some reason I see that, and I see more of a complex system out around us. And that's our mind and our heart, is what I see. And we're conquering our mind and our hearts now. We're not conquering continents anymore. Why are we doing that? We don't need to anymore. This is what, it's going to drive them nuts, because they're so used to conquering and controlling. But now humanity is conquering their own hearts and minds. And this is really the progress moving forward. And it's emerging. We're emerging bigger than you can imagine. And the realization that energy and information and awareness are really the essence of the expressed form of us. And that's where the leap generation comes in. And so I'm very excited about it, and I think that we have a lot to look forward to. But I look at it like this: humanity is finally entering its chrysalis, and it's beautiful, and I see it, and I hope more people start to feel it and become aware of it, and see the beauty, and talk to their children about this, and talk about it with them. And the next flight will not be through air, it will be through awakening. And that's the truth. That is the truth, and I see it. It's so clear to me. And the progress is no longer about how fast we go. It's about how deeply can we understand. How deeply can we understand each other, ourselves? And the first age mastered was matter. That was the first age. And the next will, us right now, the leap generation, will master meaning. Who we are, our real human potential. And the world isn't stuck. It's evolving beneath the surface and actually reorganizing, realigning, preparing for a leap so vast it won't just change our machines. It will change our definition of being human. And I'm not talking about the bit and chips that Elon talks about in our brain or our body. No, it's not going to be that. I'm talking about finding out who we truly are, our divinity and our worthiness. So maybe we didn't slow down. Maybe we just turned inward toward the source of creation itself. I love you guys so much. Keep on standing up, keep on questioning, and I'll see you on the next episode. I love you guys.